Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan with Business Owner Browser, Tech Tuesdays. And we're very happy to be joined this week by John. John, you want to say hi, introduce yourself real fast?
Absolutely. It's great to be here. This is John Genovese. I'm a global client partner at Amazon Web Services. Been friends with Dennis for quite some time, right? I think back in the days of the old tech pitch contests, right? Going back, dating ourselves now in the New Jersey community here, but it's been a long time, and I've enjoyed watching, Dennis's career kind of flourish and all the different cool ideas that have taken place since our startups that we had back in the day. So great to be here.
He's always moving. That's I share in that respect for Dennis. So I know we'll get started kind of real basic here. I'm sure there's about only 6 people in the world that haven't heard of AWS. But for those who maybe haven't, do you mind just explaining roughly what AWS is and maybe a little bit more about your role as part of the company?
Yeah, look, I think AWS, Amazon Web Services, is one of the large cloud providers, right? So, in a lot of ways, if you go access a website today, there's a good chance that website is running on, AWS infrastructure. Even to not just infrastructure, but as we look into the future of AI, ML, and artificial intelligence, machine learning, AWS is playing a significant role there, among many other offerings, right? Everything from analytics to databases to storage to networking, you name it, right? I mean, it helps make the world go around in a lot of ways. In my role, as a global client partner, I think it's cool because I get to work with some of the smartest people, in the world here, work with some of the largest companies in the world. And really determine where AWS has 200 plus different technology services and technology offerings, which is even hard to wrap your mind around. But part of my job is working backwards from what the customer, and by customer I mean some of the largest, like I said, enterprises in the world, and really understanding what they're trying to go solve, what's going to be the future of their business, and then working backwards from that and helping them line up to what we can help them with and what we can offer. Like we mentioned earlier, I started my career in the management consulting space and then transitioned into technology, business development, sales, and I did that because the industry was always changing and always very exciting. I think, but the thing that changed, although it changes a lot, the thing that remains consistent is just the customer, right? Like the customer value prop and how you help drive value for the customer. Those are some evergreen things, right, that are always going to stay consistent. So I think that's what's really attracted me to the space that I'm in now.
Yeah.
More about that.
I mean, as both, I've used AWS as both a startup entrepreneur. I think I credit AWS to giving a lot of startups the ability to even exist. I mean, they have like the free tiers and it's easy to set up. And then I've also been on the enterprise side, kind of working with people like yourself and using it for big clients. So what's some of the most recent trends that you've seen in AWS? And I want to get more into the metaverse with you. So if there's any trends with AWS in the metaverse, by all means go into that. But kind of, with the most recent, working from home and people kind of changing their lifestyle, have you seen any big trends emerge this year?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we don't have too much time on this call, but I think, one of the things I would say to anyone listening is that if they are interested in AWS and learning more about AWS and what's going on there, we just got done with our customer conference called reInvent that took place in Vegas 2 weeks ago. So, right now you could go to YouTube, you could go on, Google, you go to obviously the AWS website and look up the different keynotes and look up some of the big announcements. And all the trends really there will be, packaged up pretty nicely, right? I think, for me to go into that now would probably not be doing it justice. But I think, there's a tremendous amount of content and new offerings that are coming out from AWS. So you can check that out there. I think from my perspective, when I, go to these conferences and when I just work with customers in general, I'm always trying to look at it through what's a customer value lens, right? And one of the ones I found that works extremely well is around, the objectives and key results methodology, right? Like OKRs. I know that it's not a new thing, for people who, read John Doerr and who understand, that method. It's been around for a while, but I think it's really been pervasive in how we've managed customer relationships, right? So if a customer comes to us with a problem, part of our kind of standard, go to market with them is to say, look, how does this fit into your OKRs, right? Like if you want to go solve this problem, how does it fit in? And if they don't know that, if they don't understand that, I think there's a part of, consulting and consultation that goes along with that to help them understand how AWS and all the 200 plus services can ultimately go drive that. So OKRs is a big portion of what we do, day in, day out.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little more. So you'll actually go on site, you'll meet with some clients, and you'll kind of help them come up with their objectives, and then you'll, I guess, formulate some of the key results you would track off of that, or how do you kind of put that all together with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I look at it in, from a personal perspective, I look at OKRs in, three lenses, right? And, for me, it's one, how can you work with the customer on their OKRs, right? And we'll talk about that. I think secondly, it's, I manage a global team. So, what are the OKRs for our global team, right? And then third, any of the passion projects that we have going on, right? That we talked about the metaverse a little bit.
Yeah.
How does OKRs even apply to that, right? And everything else you do, teaching my 7-year-old about like, hey, what are your OKRs for, for school, right? So just so you start planting those seeds early, which is really cool. But look, I think to your point, a lot of customers, well, I say a lot, I think, I've worked with a decent amount of customers that will have an initiative or will have an objective that is sometimes not clearly defined, right? So I think really peeling that onion back of like, what are you really trying to accomplish? And then let's put that into an objective statement with them if they don't already have it. And then say to them, okay, if we're going to partner together, what are the key results that would effectively, if those key results are accomplished, right, they're time bound and they're measurable, then would that help us understand if we achieved your objective? And then building that out with them, I think, is something that not a lot of companies do, not a lot of account teams do, not a lot of sales and business development teams do, but it's something that I think we found that works really, really well, and we think we've earned a lot of trust with the customer by taking that approach.
I like that, and you'll have to forgive me because it's been a number of years since I read the book, but I remember that one of the hardest thing is actually setting the right objective, right, and making sure that you set something obtainable. And I don't know if you're measuring it off of a quarter or a calendar year, but to me, it seems like you provide a ton of value in helping these customers come up with actually what the right objective should be, not just, an arbitrary objective that may not help their bottom line or help customer satisfaction.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So how do you kind of go through that process with them? Learn their business, have some discoveries? Do you do a little bit of trial and error?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of that I call strategic alignment that has to happen, right? In the sense where we're going to have these calls, and it's not necessarily like we're selling or pitching anything, right? It's really all about understanding what's the strategy, what's the focus areas that the customer has, and then if they don't have it written up as an objective and a key result, then us taking the proactiveness to go ahead and put that into an OKR and then validate that with the customer, right? And I think there's been a lot of attention that's come about that because they really appreciate that approach, because not everyone's doing that, right? People aren't taking what the customer's telling you and then putting that into a different lens and then repeating that back to them to make sure that, one, you understand it, and that two, maybe the customer now understands it in a different way,
right?
And maybe they adopt it, right? Maybe they adopt it and they bring it internally, which we've seen happen as well. But even from an account team perspective, right? I mean, I think one of the things that's amazing about AWS is that they invest so much into the success of our customers, probably more so than I've ever seen. And, for us, when I said, hey, what's our key objective, right? As an account team, as a sales team, and business development team, what is our objective here? And, I always go back to it, and I try getting away from it, and I come back to it. It's like, we want to be the number one technology and business partner for our customer. And it's a little ambiguous. But when you start to define that, right, using the key results, one of those key results might be like, look, we want to be on stage at the customer's, internal event that they have that is honoring, partners, right? Like we want to be a partner on that stage getting an award because we've given so much value to the customer. And that makes it a little more tangible, right? And you have a couple other ones like that. And then if you achieve all those, we've then achieved our objective of being the number one, business and technology partner for our customer, right? And we drive that because what's cool about it, if you think about it, we all have 1,000 things going on all the time, right? It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you're, an hourly employee. There's, whether it be personal or professional, there's always so much going on. And when you think about how do you get back to center, how do you focus on your mission, how do you, think about what's going to make the next big step, right? There's a book called The One Thing. You might have heard about that or read that. Like, I think in a lot of ways, OKRs and that book's premise of the one thing are really coincided. Like, what's the one thing that if this happens, everything else falls into place?
Yeah.
And I think objectives and key results really help drive that, going forward.